Hello, comrades and compatriots. My name is TBSkyne, and, well, you've already seen the title of the video, so you know that this is going to be a bit of a frustrated rant, but it really wasn't supposed to be. I wanted to do a video about the new comic Olaf vs. Everything. This is the first season of it, a 12-page comic that Riot Games commissioned from a community artist and put up on their website, exploring a bit of a side story about what might happen is if Olaf got into a fight with a whole bunch of different things, essentially, in the League of Legends universe. It's a really gorgeous comic. It's really well drawn. It's really well made. It's really interesting. And it's just fun to see Olaf fighting with a bunch of stuff. But when I went to find it, to look at it and read it and gather my thoughts about it, I realized that I didn't know how to get to it. I didn't know how to find it. Now, I could Google it. That was pretty easy. Just Google Olaf versus Everything, and it'll come up. That'll be pretty simple, but there's no way to find it from here. Well, there is, but we're going to get into that. But from here, like, I'm just going to pose you a challenge right now. Pause this video. Go to this site here, na.leagueoflegends.com/en, and try to find this comic from here. Pause the video. I'll wait for you. I'm going to give you a spoiler. You probably can't. It is possible, but just barely. So if you are a casual reader, someone who, hey, League of Legends has some comics published about them, right? I've heard something about that. I would like to read those comics. Then you go to this site, and then what do? Where are the comics? Well, if you are a little bit savvy, you might say, hey, Universe, that sounds like the right place to go. That's Universe. That's their stuff, right? That's all the lore stuff and all the comics and all the videos. Yeah, and you go here, and it's not here. I've checked. Olaf vs. Everything and the other comics that Riot Games has published in the Community Spotlight are not here. The comics that are here are the official League of Legends comics, like the Kai'Sa comic Breach, and right now they're also featuring the Darius comic. I've done videos on both of those. And as a side note, there's no way to tell the Universe website to show you only the comics. There's no tag, there's no drop-down menu, there's no anything where you can say, hey, I would like to see all of the comics on this site, and I'd like to read those. There's no way to do it. Unless they're featured on the front page, then you have to know which champion is in the comic, and you have to go to that champion's page, and then you can find the comic about them. But otherwise, there's no way to browse comics in League of Legends. So the Community Spotlight is not here. Okay, where else could it be? Well, maybe it's in the Nexus. Nexus, that sounds like a place where you collect things. And no, this is all game dev stuff. This is all Riot Games' own communication about their projects and stuff, which is fine, but it's not what we're looking for. So then you think, okay, communities, I heard something about their Community Spotlight comics, so let's go to Community, and that takes you to the boards, where I'm sure the comics have been posted at some point, but again, there's no sensible way to find them without, inputting search tags, which means you have to know the title of the thing, you have to know which champions are involved, you have to know what the hell the comic is already, at which point you can just Google it. If you're just looking for comics about League of Legends to read, there's no way to do it. There is no way to do it. The only way to find Olaf versus Everything, and indeed Crystal Quest and Punches and Plants and the Academy Adventures comics, which are other comics, really good comics, that Riot has been publishing for League of Legends, the only way to find them is to go to News and start scrolling. It's not on this page. It's not on this page. It's not on this page. Hey, there it is, 5 pages down. I found Olaf versus Everything. Do you want to know how far back you have to go to find Crystal Quest, or Punches and Plants, or Academy Adventures? It's pretty far. It's pretty far. That's the only way to find the comics, and I am frustrated by this. I'm frustrated by it for multiple reasons. First of all, I have been advocating very loudly for League of Legends and for Riot Games in particular to take a more active role in publishing comics for their content. It's one of the best forms of lore exploration that they could possibly do, and the ones they've got are so good. I urge you to go and read Crystal Quest. It has the most amazing art style. Look at this. As soon as it finishes loading up, and we're going to talk about that problem in a second too. Look at this. Look at how cool this art style is. Look at how cool all of this. Look at the colors. These are so nice. These are so good. Punches and Plants is really fun. It's this police buddy cop comedy story featuring Zyra and Vi, and it's really good. And Academy Adventures is fun too. It features all the schoolgirl skins and all the Academy skins, like with all the League of Legends characters going to a magic high school. It's really cool, but there's no way to get to it. There's no way to get to it. And this is why the title of the video is Riot Games is terrible at publishing comics. They're good at having them made. They've had tons of comics made, but they've not found any, they've not got any useful method of publishing them. There's no central hub. There's no central page. There's nowhere I can go as a reader to say, I want to read League of Legends comics at comics.leagueoflegends.com or whatever. There's no way to find all of them, except unless you already know what they're called or exactly where they are, there's no way to find them. And it does a disservice to the artists that they've commissioned, I have to say, because they're not allowed to post their stuff elsewhere. Riot purchased these comics for publishing on their own sites, which means the artists who made them have to link here in order to share them. Or tell people to try and find them there, and they're not discoverable, and it's a waste. And it's a waste for Riot Games too. They spent money on these things. They spent money and time and effort coordinating, getting these things together, having them written, checking them against all that stuff that goes into publishing at all. They did so much of the legwork, and then they're impossible to discover. They're impossible to find. It's incredibly inconvenient. So I dislike that. The second aspect of the way they publish comics that I have a massive problem with is the way that they display comics. Now, the comics are ordered essentially like this. You can see there's a list of pages here, and then as you click on each one, they pop up down here so you can read them. The trouble is, this is not very easy to read. This is a very small page size. It's a really, really narrow page it's published on. So it's really hard to read it, and zooming in, sure, helps size it up a little bit, but it also lowers the quality. If you want to see the full quality image, you click on the image, and it comes up. And now it looks great. Now it looks fantastic. Now it's, yay, this is a full-sized comic page. Excellent. So I can scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Now I want to read the next one. What do I do? Click. Nope. That just takes me right back out. There are these little arrows here and here around the middle of each page that you can click on to take you to the next one. But if you misclick anywhere other than on those arrows, you just get taken out. And you get taken out way down on the page where you had scrolled to, rather than getting taken back up to the page selection. And that's just, it's not super awful. I've seen it done worse, but it's not a good way to do it. And the reason I say that is because webcomics are one of the oldest forms of entertainment on the internet. Webcomics were around back like in the late 90s when I got online for the first time. I found some webcomics that I followed, and the problem of how to display comics on the internet is one that has been solved. It has been optimized. It has gone through hundreds of design iterations, and we have settled as a comics community on a relatively standard format. This is the standard webcomics page. You can find lots of them that have various looks and various style sheets and stuff, but this is the basics, the very basics of what you need. A page that is dedicated to the comic in its full size, a full size that is readable on any screen at whatever resolution. Then there's pagination, which are these little navigation buttons on the top and on the bottom of each page. There are buttons you can click to go to the archive, or to go to the very first comic, or to go to the very latest comic. That's the standard. And pretty much every webcomic you're ever going to read has this kind of navigation on it. So this is the base. This is what I'm missing from this, is a central page with one page displayed at a time with navigation buttons, as well as some options to read and to check out an archive, or maybe some information about the artist and the comics that they've made, and some other stuff could be there too. You can put lots of other stuff in there, but this basic stuff needs to be there. And this is something that's true of old webcomics like PvP, which is one of the very oldest webcomics that's been around for ages. It has a slightly different method of navigation. It doesn't have the first and last, but instead it functions around having the stories, the comics organized into stories, and they're spotlighted here and there, and you can read those in turn. And you can see they're archived by story arc and by month. So there are ways to find the comics. And this is something that's necessary for PvP because it's been running for so long that if you hit first, you would literally get taken back to the late 90s. And there would be thousands of comics ahead of you. So it's not always the most efficient way to do it. But for small comics like this one, 12-page, 20-page comics, having a first, being able to go to the first page and the last page, that kind of stuff kind of matters. It also depends on the publishing format. Here's my page, my webcomic site. I'm not a great web developer. I have to say, this is something I've cobbled together with Squarespace, essentially. But I have multiple comics that I run, and my landing page is just a layout showing there's the latest of one comic, there's the latest of another comic, the latest of a third, the latest of a fourth comic, and you can click on them, and you get taken to, again, the very basic page. Pagination, that is the navigation. Here's my blabber where I talk about the comic pages. Here's an opportunity to comment on each individual page. Here's an archive, here's an RSS feed. All the basic stuff is there. For publishing multiple comics on one website, though, there is a better way to do it if you have a proper web developer connected, and that's one that Penny Arcade is using. Their comics site has their weekly comics, the ones that get updated on a regular basis. They're all laid out here, along with their update schedules, along with the, names of the creators and the dates on when they were being published. You can go to the first, you can go to the latest, so on and so on. And then they have their one-shot comics here, all of them laid out in an easy, simple format. You can find them, you can read each part of the story arcs, everything is organized neatly. It's easy to discover the comics that are available on Penny Arcade because they have a simple, convenient site that shows you everything that's available, gives you some context on what it is, and there you go. So, Riot Games needs to do better in this regard, I think. Both out of respect for the artists who are donating their, well, not donating, whose time and effort they have purchased. It just, as an artist myself, I get kind of wrangled. I get a little annoyed when I see this great work just kind of vanish into the depths of the archives of a disorganized website. That sucks. It should be more available. It should be more easy to read because they're good. They're really good. You should go and read them. There's links to all of them down in the description. And by the way, I'm going to do videos on each and every single one of these comics because if Riot so far have not been very good at spotlighting them, then I'm going to pick up some of the slack. But Riot, okay, so to calm myself back down a little bit, there needs to be proper discovery. There needs to be a sub-page or a tag or a thing you can click on somewhere on the League of Legends website that will take you to the comics that you have made and you have published so that people can see them, so people can engage with them. And by the way, if you want to have comments, it should be possible to comment on each individual page, not just on the whole thing. It should be possible to comment on each page, to say, oh, I love the art here, or I love the way they drew the blood, or I love the way they did the effects. I mean, I would abuse that comment system to just gush over every single page of Crystal Quest, because it's just so good. It's just so nicely drawn. There needs to be a better way to read the comic full size than clicking on a page, waiting forever for the giant-ass image to load, and then accidentally clicking the wrong place and having to go back and try and find your place again. There has to be a better way, and it has already been solved. Lots of webcomics have systems of publishing that makes it easy and simple to discover various comics and read them. This is a solved problem, and the reason I'm holding back my frustration a little bit here because I know nobody at Riot was like twisting their evil twirly mustache and saying, we're going to spend money on a product and then we're going to make sure we don't get our money's worth out of it. Nobody was evil. Nobody was trying to do it wrong, but they did do it wrong. By accident, I imagine. But as a reader, it feels hostile, kinda. Like, I come to the website with oh, I want to read the comics. I've heard good things about the comics. I want to read them. And then the website just says, no, I'm not going to show you. You can go and dig. Here's the big pile of everything that's on the website, all of the news. You can go and dig through that, and you can find it maybe if you want to. We're not going to show you. We're not going to put it in front of you. We're not going to make it easy for you to consume our content. that as a reader feels a little hostile, which is not what you want. So, I have offered some models for how a better publishing format can be accomplished, and just on the off chance that a Rioter who has power over this stuff sees this video, I would like to offer my help. Like, if you need a consultant, someone who has worked in webcomics for a long time, who knows how publishing these things online tends to work, and who can help you out with the kinds of features and the organization that's needed, I would love to lend you my expertise. I mean, I'm sure you have people yourself. Like, there's plenty of competent people at Riot who can probably figure this stuff out, but if you need any help, I'm here. Contact me. I will help you for free. I'll be happy to. But they're so good, and it's so hard to find them, and it shouldn't be. Anyway, I'm going to stop now. I'm devolving into rambling. My name has been TV Sky, and you can leave your comments down below if you're so inclined. I'm going to do videos on every single one of these comics because they're really good, and you should go read them. There's links to them down in the description, and I will see you in the next video.